Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's Saturday. Earlier today, to be a little redundant because we have showers here in Northern Virginia, I went swimming for a mile or so, and that always puts me together. And since I'm trying to protect my left calf, I'm trying to be more careful about what I do with it. So, what's on my mind today? Well, it's not my hobby horse, really, but I keep following the Colorado River discomfort. That is to say, there are more people who want and need the water available from the river, but because of drought and overuse and bad policies, there's not the water to cover all the needs that there have been. So the federal government has basically said, hey, California, Arizona, Nevada, figure out how you can back off your water use because you have to. It just can't operate this way. And they measure it in acre feet. And to give you some idea what that is, that's 326,000 gallons of water. Now, one of the reasons I follow it is because it is an example of what we're going to be facing. Today it's the Colorado River, but it'll be river bodies and groundwater and aquifers. It will be bad agricultural policies. It'll be all of these things that become a chaos of difficulty in which we won't be able to solve the problem because we haven't been paying attention to this gathering storm of difficulty for decades. So here's the story along the Colorado River, or a partial story. It's a huge story. In fact, the president just put out a report that's something like 476 pages outlining what we can do right now and have to do. But nothing can be done quickly enough for the people involved on the ground. So, for example, there's an Imperial Valley set of farmers, and they do a lot of farming in alfalfa and lettuce, and that's water-rich growth. But here's the other thing. Where does that product go? We feed it to animals, alfalfa and lettuce. So we're making a demand on our water resources to feed animals that we eat who also have to graze. So you see the circular problem. We have cut down trees in South America for grazing, compromising the lungs of the earth. But let me stay on track here. So what are the farmers who are making the biggest demands in the Imperial Valley? What are they doing? Well, they say, well, water rights. We're not going to restrict. We have all these jobs. We have all this farmland. We need the water, and we should be first. But others say, well, if you get your water, then what's going to happen to hydropower? What's going to happen to workers elsewhere who depend on it? What's going to happen to other farmers not in your valley? What about the water for civilians? So you see it, and I'm simplifying it, but in terms of the categories, but this is in fact the problem. So how are they going to address it? Well, there are several proposals, and the farmers resist them. For example, you have to leave fallow some fields. You can't use it. You can't use the water for that field. Now, they don't want to do that. What are some of the farmers doing to protect themselves? The farmers are buying more land because if you have more land, when the settlement comes in, you'll have more water by the regulation that comes from the federal government. You see the desperation in these approaches. The problem may be solved with the almighty dollar, and this is a short-term answer. So, for example, say I'm a farmer, and I make X hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on the thousands and thousands of acres I have that I'm using with the water from the Colorado River. And you're telling me I shouldn't make so much this year because I should leave fallow farmland so that we can balance out the demand of water of the Colorado River by California, Nevada, and Arizona. So the farmer says, okay, so pay me my loss. Pay me the income I won't get because I'm not using the land by your dictates. And there are a couple of things that are troubling here. One is, what do you do the next year? That's not a solution. It's not a solution for more than one season. But there's also this problem. When the farmers say, we're water rights people, they ignore the fact that this infrastructure was created when there seemed to be a wealth of water. And so the reason that they have the water and the water rights that they declare is because it was constructed that way by the federal government. So it's not like for 1,000 years there was this resource out there. And because of drought and misuse, then it's now been compromised. That's not it. The amount of water was increased by certain kinds of infrastructural challenges and overcoming them. And now, when they're not working, you have to constrict your use. Now, the Dust Bowl was something like this. I'm not crying wolf here, but here's the error in thinking is to say, well, I can grow alfalfa. Well, what if you had a different crop? What if you didn't have as many cuttings? They do cuttings 3 times a year, and when they do that, then there's another increase in the demand of the water. But in the Dust Bowl, what happened was crops were planted that could not be sustained by the waters and the existing vegetation, and so it literally turned to dust and blew away and could be seen from one end of the nation to the other. And that's why groups like one that I belong to, a Soil and Water Conservation District, popped up across America, voluntary groups. And the idea was to teach best management practices. So I'll probably put up a link to the president's report. And if you might want to pick and choose from the table of contents what you wanted to read, or just be impressed that there is a document that actually seems to bear on the point of this tragedy. So that's what I got to say about the Colorado River. There are a couple of other things that strike me as amusing and newsworthy, sort of like what Fox says they do. The judge, Kaczmarek, down in Texas, the idiot that would suspend the effect of the Food and Drug Administration, going back to the original idea of Teddy Roosevelt, he apparently had to file, as all of us do when we're in the federal government, statements of income and holdings and things like that. Now mine was modest, but because it just was. But this judge, Kaczmarek, filed one. And he has indicated that he has a $5 million holding in a single entity, but he has refused to say what that entity is. Shades of Thomas. These guys may be everywhere. It's pretty terrible. Now, as a result of his ruling and Alito and the tragedies that are rolling across America with the wrong-headed view that women do not have possession or dominion over their own body and choices and so forth, what we're seeing is OBGYN physicians are not seeking to go into the states where these crazy policies are in place, because they see that down the road, if they decided to stay where they're trained, they might be in a state that is inimical to actually providing medicine and medical care to women in the OBGYN category of medical services that are provided. So we're seeing a result of the bad decision by the Supreme Court. What continues to be amazing is we took a right that had been recognized by the court for 50 years, And now we act as if there never was a purpose to that right, based on a fiction from a religion that is itself nonsense as a matter of medical science and fact. That is, life is not created by a fecundated ovum. Please. When I was a kid, and some politician was asked, at a thing I was at, when does life begin? He says, when the child registers Democratic. So, and then why not finish up with something from Florida? Florida is considering bills to withhold funding from those programs by which our children might decide to get along, and they also want to command teachers not to teach about race discrimination. And so the autocrats are loose and running around the room creating trouble, while more and more people across this nation figure, since there really is no law, why not shoot the guy that drives up my driveway or knocks on my door? And that's the state of America today. We wait until the last minute to deal with the problem, then we deal with it in a half-assed way, and we wonder why it doesn't work. So, call, talk, because illumination might follow pestering them, or maybe just pestering them will make them to do it the right thing rather than being pestered. It does seem to work that way. So, I'm in a series of open fields, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Stay out of trouble. All the best. Bye-bye.